Hello everyone, welcome to the last and final oSTEM Hackathon Training video series. And in this video, I'm just going to be covering the integration of the backend and frontend for the writing a new post functionality and displaying such posts you make on the homepage, as well as have each of them having their own individual pages with an option to delete them if you're that post owner or edit them. In the last video, I covered the backend and front-end integration for the login and create account functionalities. So if you have not watched that part already, go back to the last video and watch that before continuing with this video. And anyways, I'm just going to demo what we'll be doing in this video very quick. So suppose I'm a new user and I create a new account. So let me just name it some random thing like hi3. And then some random email. Like that, and then a password. Then I create the account, and then I log into the account I just made. And then once you log in, you should have the ability to both write and log out. So suppose I'm a new user and I want to create a new article. I could just go here, and then I could type new, this is my article or something, or this is my post. Info goes here. You have the option to upload a photo to that new article, and then you could post it. It'll take you to that individual post page where you could change information, so you could update the post or delete it. I'm not going to delete it yet, but that post should show up on the home page. It doesn't have a picture. And then if I go to that one, I could also delete it if I want to, and then it'll be gone. I would also like to add that this video series won't be covering how to integrate the backend and frontend for the setting page. And this series won't be talking about how to create the about and contact pages. So all those things I'm leaving up to you as homework. So you could learn by doing and use all the information you learn throughout this series to actually code that extra stuff. And it could just think of it as like a little test for your knowledge to see if you understood these videos and you're able to actually code things without me holding your hand. And yeah, so basically the settings page is supposed to be like, suppose you logged in to your account. So suppose you logged in. The settings page, there will be like your little profile icon here, and then you could click on it, and then you could go to a page where you're able to update your username if desired, or your email, or even have a profile picture. So that's kind of like a big added functionality, especially if you're a beginner. But all the stuff I've taught you in this video should help and assist you with adding that on your own. Additionally, you could quickly add the about and contact pages at the end of this video as homework. So the about page should just be like a standalone static page with just like information about your website. And then contact, it could go to a standalone page with maybe your contact information or an email form if you want to hide your email from web scrapers and stuff. And you could probably Google that, how to get an email form, and use that in React. There's probably some pre-built React components that could help you. And so anyways, as with all the other videos, I'm not going to be coding on this video. I'm just going to be going through the code needed to add the writing post functionality and actually seeing those posts and explaining what everything does so you can understand it better. So that being said, this video might go like kind of quick. So feel free to pause the video at any point to look at code and analyze it closer and actually understand what's going on. So regarding those 3 little on your own homework assignments of creating about and contact and settings pages, I'll add a short description below on how you can get started by doing those on your own, like what files you should make, and a little like holding your hand a little bit just to get you started on coding that on your own. And if you want, you could go look at the description if you want the additional help. But anyways, I'm going to get straight into the coding portion of this video. And also keep in mind, I've been getting over a cold, so my voice might not sound as normal as it used to be in videos. So anyways, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your app.js file in the front end folder. And you're just going to want to change this. Or instead, let's just get rid of all of this. We just want it to go to right post regardless. Or actually, I thought wrong. It should be, yeah, this is good. Just have it be right post regardless. I think that's good. Or why is it complaining now? Oh, I see why it's complaining. Keep in mind you need your curly braces around that. And, oh no. Right post, route. I see. I see the issue now. You need another one there, and then, so just like that. So, for this part, I'm just added it so like, regardless of a user is logged in or not, just go to right post regardless. So add that to your app.js very quick and you should be good there. And then we want to update this navbar next such that you can only see certain things if you're logged in. So if suppose you're not logged in, you don't want to be able to see the log out button or the right post button if you're not even logged into an account. So we're just going to show these 3 items. But if suppose you log in, you want to be able to log out. So you want to see the log out button and you want to be able to create new posts. So you'll see the additional 2 buttons. So to do that, we'll just need to add a conditional. And let me see here. We have the home, about, and contact. Those should be good. Even if you're logged in or logged out, all the time you should be able to see those 3 things. However, here's our conditional for the right button on the navbar. So we only want to see the ability to write if the user is logged in. So remember in previous videos we had this user variable that checks if a user is logged in or not. So if you don't have this, add this code here and it just checks if someone's logged in or not. And if they're logged in, it will show the right button. And it will also do that for the log out button as well. So after that, you should be good on this note. If you add this code here, I'll zoom in a little bit closer just so you could see that better. So you just want this conditional here. And if you added more different like navbar buttons on your own, be sure to follow this conditional if you only want things visible to people logged in or people logged out and vice versa. So that's how you would do that conditional. And I think I already covered the log out in the last video. This just handled how a user would log out. And after that, that should be good. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to first go to your front end folder and very quickly check your package.json and make sure you're able to read from the backend. So just make sure you have this proxy line here and make sure there's like a slash at the end of it, just like that. The previous video, I forgot the slash and it was causing issues when I was coding this part of the video. So just please add that slash to the proxy on the package.json in the front end folder. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your front end folder again, into source, pages, and you're going to want to go to this folder here. If you don't have it already, please create it. And you're going to have 2 files in there, and you're going to open writepost.jsx. And this is where we're going to include all our React code for writing a post and submitting it to our database. So I'm just going to walk you through this code very quick. Let me zoom in a bit more so you can see it better. Appearance, and then I want to zoom in. So first thing is, I think you should already have these 3 variables here. This is just to keep track of what you type in the text boxes of the right page. However, you shouldn't have this yet. So please add this variable here. It just keeps track if the user is logged in by using the use context I covered in the last video, I believe. And basically it just takes the user that's logged in, and then we later use their information when we upload a new post to the database. So remember that in our post schema, every post contains like the description of the post, the like article name, and then the author who has that username. So this is how we get that username in the post information within the database. So next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create this new function that just handles the submit button. So once a user puts in all their information, and I should have already went through this code, and then they click submit, it will call this function here and upload that new post to our database. So down here you should already have like all of this. So you should have like it where it sets the title, sets the file if they specify a file, and all that good stuff. So sorry, I'm just fixing something with my settings here, just so you don't hear all my notifications in the background. Okay, so anyways, you want to add in this form tag here on submit, you want to call the handle submit function. So within this function, you're going to first do prevent default, and then you're going to create a new variable that holds the information that you want to post to the database. So we want to post a new post that takes the user's name as the author, the title that was typed in down in the form, and the description that the user also typed. And then this console.log is just for testing purposes. You could add that in if you want. And then you also want to check if the user uploaded a file, like an image or something, to that post. So you'll do if there was a file, and this is where we set the file. Then you can add this code, and all this code does is just it takes that image and adds it essentially to. So I don't really know much about this code, but it essentially just takes the photo that you chose from your computer and uploads it. Just like this. So basically we had a backend function called upload I went over, and it just uploads that path and data to the backend and to a specific folder in our repo. So the images of each article are saved. So additionally, you want to also post the actual post itself. So I have a try catch down here, and this is another error checking thing I added, but you can not have the console.logs if you want. And then I just use Axios to call the backend endpoint to post that new post that was created and submitted. And then after creating that new post, I relocate the user to this URL, so it just goes to the URL pointing to that new post. And I take the ID, and that's included in the URL path to go to that new post. And once you do that, that's all you need to have added for the write post page. Okay, so once you create the writing post code, you should be able to test it. So when you go over to test it, since we didn't create the code to actually display stuff to the front end yet, in terms of posts, it's not going to show up here. Right now it's showing up because I already have the code for it. But just to test that your write thing individually works alone, you can log into your MongoDB, go to posts, and see if it shows up here. So I'm just going to name this like example post 1, 2, 3, 4, and just random junk just to test it. I'll just add a picture and click post. And then it shouldn't show up there yet since we'll get into that code later in this video, but it should show up in the MongoDB database. So once this loads, you go to your post collection, and then it should show up somewhere here. So here it is right here. So this is the post we create here, and then the ID is there. This ID will be important once we create the actual URL that goes to that specific post, and all the information regarding that post, the author, which right now I'm logged into an account I named Hello1, so that's accurate and it should all be good. So now that you have the ability to write a post and that user could then upload that post to the database, we want the user to be able to actually see that post on the home page. So right now on your home page, it should just be showing no posts at all or just some placeholder junk data, since we did not cover this part yet. So basically, once you write a new post, you want it to display here, and you want just every single post in existence to display to the home page. So to do that, you're first going to want to go to your repository, into the front end folder, and you're going to want to open your home.jsx file, as well as in components, your post.jsx file and post.jsx file. And I covered these in the design video, so you should already have them, and they should have just junk data that's useless. So open all those up, and I'm first going to start with, let's just start with home. So go to your home.jsx file, and within here, you shouldn't really see much right now, but you're going to want to create this variable here, posts, and this will just be a giant list of all the posts that we pull from the database. And remember, in the backend video, we created a backend endpoint that essentially fetches all posts from the database, puts them in a list, and returns it back to us. So in this use effects, we're just going to have a fetch post function that just constantly just always pulls from the database all the posts and sets this variable here to that list of posts. And you also want to remember to add this here. So essentially what this code is doing is it's essentially just going to that backend endpoint posts, and it's getting every single post in existence from the database and putting it into this list here. Just like that. And then this additional search option is basically that query we added to the backend endpoint. So for example, if you only wanted to display posts by one particular user, or posts that were created at a certain date and stuff like that, then you could also add like a query to the URL. So this is just these two things here are just assisting in actually implementing that feature that we created in the backend. So once you create that, you should now have all your posts from the database in this list. And then here, you're going to want to have your sidebar, which is again like the sidebar here, and then you're going to want to have your actual posts. So you're going to import posts from component, and then just like that. And you're going to want to pass the posts list as props. So you're going to want to pass this list as props into the post component. So now this list is being sent to posts. So once your list of posts is sent to the post component, it's going to go into the post component. So quickly add this. This is just specifying that props are allowed in this component. So you're sending all the posts as props into this component, and then you're going to map through each of them and post their information. So I have this .map here, and it takes the post list and maps each and every individual post, article, whatever, in that list, and it passes each of those individual posts to a post component. And remember, the post component are these little thumbnails. So this right here is one post component. This here is another post component. This here is another post component. And all of them together are posts plural components. So it just goes through each one and passes them into post component to display each one to the screen. So within your post.jsx, keep in mind this is now single, so it's not plural. It takes it in as props, and then it basically just pulls all the information from that individual post and displays it to the screen. So, for example, let me open up the site here just to go through it with you. So first of all, it checks if the post has a photo. So it does post.photo. And then if it has a photo, it takes that photo by going to the path. So it's displayed on the screen like that. Additionally, it also has the categories. So remember that we wanted categories. So I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the video, but the category stuff, I'm just going to also leave it up to you as homework to figure that out. So remember, in the beginning of the design component, basically each post could have like a list of categories. So let's say a post is correlated to music, then you want that one in the music category or something. So you could just go figure that out on your own, or just like not code it at all. So for now, we'll just ignore this unless you want to implement that feature. And then you want a link to the individual post page. So remember that each post will go to its individual post page, which is specified by /post, and then its ID that is in the database. So to do that, we just do post._ID. And then for the title, we do post.title. And remember, all of these names like .title and everything is coming from our schema that we specified for the database on MongoDB. So let me just quickly open up the schema just so you can remember here, because I know it's been a while. So we have title, photo, description, blah, 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 all that stuff. And we're just going through each individual thumbnail post thing and parsing that data that we pulled from the database for each post and displaying it to the screen. So we want post.title, and then we want a date. So we want each one to display the date. And so we're going to create a new date object. So also, we create a new date object. And this fancy stuff here, it just makes it look pretty on the screen. Because if you just have post.created@, it's going to still be a date, but it's going to be like hard to read. But this just shows like the day of week, month, and date and all that stuff. And then you also want the post summary, which is down here, which is like just the short description, which basically I made it so like if you go, for example, this one I just called it Pride. That's the description itself. It's just limited by actual like words. So anyways, once you add this code, you should be able to successfully now view posts on the home page. And also, you could test it out yourself. If you write a new post and then go to the home page and refresh it, you should see that new post. Since basically, in our home.jsx, it's just constantly checking the database. So, if you write something and it successfully opens, sends to the database and is stored, and then home should basically get it from the database and display it to the screen. Okay, so now that you can see every single post on the homepage, you want it to be able to, so that like if you see a post you're interested in, you can click on it and view more information on that post. So to do that, we're essentially going to remember that in our post.jsx, we added that link, and that link goes to the route for each individual unique post. And then from here, we could see information about that post, like the author, date, longer form of the description. I know my example data right now is not that good. You can add like more realistic situations or articles, but for now, this is what I'm going to be using. And then additionally, we want it so that suppose you are new user, then you want to be able to actually edit this post you made and delete it. So to code this functionality, you're going to want to open two files. So you're going to want to go to your repo, into the front end folder. First, you want to go into pages, and you should already have these files. So you want to go into post page and open postpage.jsx, and then you want to go into your components folder and open unique post.jsx. So in post page, you should already have this code here. So you're just putting the sidebar component right here, and then the unique post component right here. And right now, this should be empty for you, because we still have yet to code the unique post stuff. So right now, it should be empty or have just placeholder junk data. And then within the unique post component, that's where we're going to actually look into the database and pull information about that post. So you're first going to want to add these variables here. So what this is doing here is it's taking our URL path, it's getting this ID. Remember, this is the ID of a particular post in the database. So it parses the second thing in the path, which is this ID, and stores it into this variable. So it just gets the post ID from the URL. And then you just want to add these other variables if you don't have them. Just one to keep track of like the posts we get from the database. The user to see if they're logged in or not, or if the user is able to edit that post. Basically, if you are the owner of that particular post, you want to be able to edit and delete stuff. So that's why we need to check if the user's logged in for this. And then you should already have this stuff here. And if you don't, you just want to add the variable for the title, description, and update mode. And this is just so you can update the post. So within the use effect, you're going to want to actually get the post from the database. So you're going to want to, within here, have a function called getPost, an asynchronous function that uses Axios and calls the backend endpoint that is meant to get the individual post. So let me go to the backend very quick to better show you how this works. So remember our endpoint, this one here. Let's see, this one. So essentially, this is just calling this endpoint and then placing the ID we pulled from here into here. So it's getting that unique post from the database. And once it gets that unique post from our database that we want to see the information for, it sets the post variable, the title, and the description that we declared up here. And so just make your use effect look exactly like that. And also remember to actually call this function you create here. And I'll get to this other stuff later. So then down here, now we have our title and our post information. So we actually want to display that to the screen. So to do that, you can just add the title like that somewhere. So it displays to the screen. And then for now we could skip this other stuff. If the post has a particular photo, for example, let me find a better example here. I think I have to rerun my stuff. Sorry about that. So, for example, this one has a photo. It checks firstly if that post even has a photo, and if it does, it displays that image to the screen by taking the path to that photo, just like that. And then we also want the author to show up as well, and we want the author to be a link, so once you click the author, it takes to like all posts created by that user. So you can just add this, and basically it just does post.username here, and then once that username is clicked, it takes you to this URL path where it goes to that particular user's post by, again, like adding a query up here. And then you also want the date, and you want to do this to get the pretty date format. And then after that, you want 2 more modes. So I'm going to actually log into an account to show you what I'm talking about. I think this account exists. Yeah, so this is an account I created earlier. So suppose we write a new post. I just spam my keyboard. Let's just add a photo to this as well. Or let me find a random photo on my computer. And then I click post. It takes me to that page. And basically, since I created this post and I own it on this account, we want these 2 buttons to show up. An option to actually edit it. And it actually edits the post, and an opportunity to actually delete that post. So and then it won't show up because I deleted it. So to do that, you want to first make sure you have this variable up here that checks if you're in update mode or not. And then let's just go through this one by one. You only want the trash can icon and the edit icons to show up if you're logged in. So that's where this variable was important, this user one. So we check if the post username is equal to that user logged in, then that means we own that post. We have the same username. And if that is true, then we show the edit post icon and then the delete post icon. And those are the 2 icons you saw when I was logged in. So I think I don't own this one. Let's just create a new one. Okay, so that's the edit, and then this is the trash can icon. And if I didn't own this post, you wouldn't see these. So, but since I own this post, I see them. So on click of the update icon, we want to basically set it in update mode such that you can update. And then for delete, we just want to be able to delete the post. So these are 2 functions we create up here. So you're going to want to create this function called, firstly, let's start simple. Let's start with the handle delete. So create this handle delete function just like this. And then what this is going to do is it's going to call the backend endpoint we created that's responsible for deleting a particular post from the database. So we call this endpoint. Let's see if I could find it here. So remember in a previous video, we created the delete endpoint. And this basically takes a post by its ID, goes into the database, and just deletes that post from existence. So we use Axios to call that, and we take the post ID to delete it, and we also pass in the username of the currently logged in user to just to verify that they're able to actually delete this post. In the back end, you should have this where we check against that passed in variable to see if it's the user actually owns it and can delete that, because we don't want random strangers deleting our stuff. And then once it's deleted, we just want to relocate the user and transfer them back to the home page, just like that. So then that would delete a post. So next, it's going to be a little more complicated. Update mode, essentially, again, it allows you to update the description of a particular article. But I don't think I added a way to update the title. That it can be another homework assignment for you to do. So we want to add that functionality. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add that icon for update mode. And once it's clicked, you want to set the update mode variable to true to verify that the user wants to update and we're in update mode. So down here, you're going to want to add this code. So it first checks if we're in update mode. If we're not in update mode and update mode is false, none of this is even going to be read or shown to the screen. But if we are in update mode, we want to show a text box where we can edit the description of the post and then update. So you want to add this code here, which text area and then we want the value to be the description variable we made up here. And then on change, we just want to set the description like to the target value. So as we update it, we're just always setting that description variable just to keep track of what the user is writing. And also be sure to add this. So if we're not in update mode, then we just show the standard description and we're not updating anything. And then once you set that description, we want to add this update button here, which is right here. And when that is clicked, it's going to call the handle update function. So, and they have to be in update mode to do this again. So they click the handle update button, it takes you to this function up here. Within that handle update function, it calls the backend endpoint we created, the put one here, that just edits a post given its ID. So we put in the post ID to specify the specific post we want to update and change in the database, the username, the newly updated information, so the newly updated description and title, and then we set update mode to false once we're done doing that. And then we're back to update mode false where all you see is the description. So just to show you the backend endpoint we created in a prior video, it just goes through and just updates it in the database for us. So from the front end, we're calling the backend, and the backend is doing stuff to the database. So that's where the integration happens. So once you're done with that, you're officially done with all the stuff to display posts. So with that being said, we're done with the oSTEM Hackathon Training Series. So with that being said, that we're done with our series, I just wanted to add like just a brief overview of what we created throughout the series. So I'm just going to do another little demo of the overall site, just to recap everything. So connecting Pride, we have our website design here, and now it's running. You could create a new account. I'll just name it Hello One. Put a random email just as a placeholder. Password, create account. So you could create an account, and that new account will be in the database, and then you could log into that newly created account like that. And then from here you could see everyone else's posts. I know this is kind of bad data right now. If you want to see the good data, go to the earlier videos in this series. And then you have a home page where you can see each post by different users and the information regarding them, the pictures regarding them if those posts have a picture. And then you could also write your own posts. So upload your own pictures to each of your posts. You could see the different information. You could edit the description of your post. You could view it on the screen. It should update. I think this one is mine. And then you can also delete it. And then it should be deleted from this page here. And you're also able to view the sidebar here and log out. With that demo being concluded, I just wanted to remind you that the only things I didn't cover in this series are the about page, the contact page, the ability to have categories for each post, as well as the settings page. So I leave that stuff up to you for homework. I'll add descriptions on how to get started on each of those tasks down below to help assist you in doing that on your own. So anyways, I hope you learned a lot from this series and you're able to do those tasks without much help. That means you learned something. And I hope that you now know React pretty well, decently enough to feel comfortable going to a hackathon on a team where you could actually help contribute to the team and the project you work on. And anyways, if you have any further questions about this training series or just other questions about hackathons or React, always feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here to help. And Anyways, I look forward to working with all of you if you plan to participate in a oSTEM hackathon at Cal Poly in the future. And anyways, I hope you enjoy this series, and goodbye.